CourtLink and very exciting new feature that's really taking hold in the legal community, especially in large law firms. Background on CourtLink. CourtLink has been with the Lexis family for about 3 years and has been doing very well and is a very integral part of the LexisNexis litigation suite of products that we offer. CourtLink is basically an online court records research system. Similar to the way that researchers research case law, we provide the opportunity to research virtually all federal litigation activity database that extends back 20 years and is current as yesterday. So basically what we do is every night we download all federal litigation activity from PACER, the federal network, into a database. Our developers tweak that information and modify it to the extent that we're able to display the results in very creative ways to help law firms become very strategic, and researchers in the educational market become very strategic in their research, whether that's to support litigation, projects, or any kind of other endeavor. In addition to the federal district courts that we make available, we also have federal civil criminal, as well as federal bankruptcy, and then we also have 18 state courts available online, and we're rapidly moving towards adding state courts. So that's what you're going to see from CourtLink going forward, is a rapid expansion into state court coverage. Washington is a good example. We have statewide coverage in Washington, focusing on those jurisdictions, New York, Florida, California, that sort of thing. What we're going to talk about today is a very exciting product called Strategic Profiles. And to put this a little bit in perspective, CourtLink has been around for roughly 10 years. It used to be known came out of Pennsylvania. It's been around for quite a while, and our researchers and our customers throughout the time period over the last decade have leveraged those court records in ways to try and support their litigation efforts. But what we heard after Lexis bought CourtLink was that it was rather cumbersome to have to research basically by looking at a laundry list of filings after a research had been conducted and trying to find out whether there were patterns or activity that was really relevant to support litigation. So what we created what is called Strategic Profiles. And Strategic Profiles really enable you to do just that, profile the litigation that you're interested in. So a typical way that a firm will profile using CourtLink is to profile the opposing litigant, the judge in a case, as well as the opposing counsel in a case, to ask initial predisposition, as well as the opposing counsel's tactics and the litigation history. What we're going to do today is take a very brief moment to talk about what's happening in the marketplace and why these strategic profiles really have absolute relevance right now in today's marketplace with the client pressure placed on law firms. We're then going to launch into a real-life example, walk you through a case study of how strategic profiles truly can make a difference in comparing the results that you would get from CourtLink to the same kind of research that would be gleaned if you had just relied on case law. Okay? And please feel free to jump in and ask me questions. The landscape. What we've seen over the past, I'd say, 3 years is incredible pressure on corporate counsel to the law firm. And that pressure is focused on making the law firms more efficient and effective in their representation of litigation. The most recent BTI Consulting Group survey that came out, this is a nationwide survey that came out, indicated that corporate counsel plan to, first of all, increase their litigation budget significantly. And those that are not planning to increase their budget nonetheless believe that a good portion of their litigation budget is going to be focused on representing their litigation needs. Taking that into consideration, we also see that there's a great deal of consolidation taking place. And what we mean by that is the corporate counsel are focusing on law firms and getting very, very specific about only partnering with law firms that are effective and efficient and truly leverage the technology and the resources that are out there to minimize the risk going forward in trial and settlement. That right now they're not very satisfied. In fact, last year the client satisfaction on law firms waned and reduced from 35 to roughly 30%. Bottom line, law firms are under a considerable amount of pressure. They're looking for ways to really change. I'll factor in only 2.3% of cases actually make it to trial completion at the federal civil level. That's very, very significant when you consider the corporations are paying significant dollars throughout the litigation discovery process and ultimately never have their cases resolved trial completion on the merits. Those cases are settled or they're dismissed with. How can law firms and researchers find all that other litigation activity out there through litigation records that can support their litigation efforts? Because historically what they've done is they've focused on case law. Focus on case law and you try and understand the litigation counsel. By and large, you're only able to research roughly 1%, maybe less of the litigation activity, because if only 2.3% make it to trial completion, safe to say that even a smaller percentage actually make it to publication, which is that's where we come in. I mentioned earlier that we download all federal litigation activity every night, and we go back as far as 20 years. Our database kind of rounds out the equation and provides the researcher the ability to research the entire picture, profile the interested parties in litigation. And just to reiterate, there are 3 particular profiles that we're going to run through today. Judicial profiles, the judicial litigation history, the predisposition of a judge, attorney profiles identifying the tactics and the strategies and the work product of a particular litigant profiles, getting the full litigation history. At the end, we're going to wrap back and we're going to draw a comparison to the same scenario that we're going to run through in just a moment to case law, and we'll show you the differences in results and how significant they are. Okay, so here's our case study. Intel versus Microsoft. Let's say that we have a case and it's in the Federal District of Central California. It's an patent infringement case. Intel is suing Microsoft over a patent case. Plaintiff's counsel from Intel is Brian Bodine. He works at Davis Wright Tremaine. And the judge is Honorable Cormac J. Carney. Now, we, as counsel or researchers at Microsoft, know that in all likelihood, this case isn't going to make it to trial completion. We want to make Microsoft happy. We want to get the best results possible, enforce a settlement, and identify and anticipate the judge's predisposition, the opposing counsel's tactics, as well as whether Intel's been involved in patent litigation in the past that's similar. We're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into an actual research session. A law firm representing Microsoft leveraging. What we did is we went to CourtLink.com. CourtLink.com is a separate URL. You just go to CourtLink.com. In addition, you can link, thank you, directly to CourtLink from LexisNexis.com. I can see. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that CourtLink is an integral part of our litigation solution product line at LexisNexis. In addition, CourtLink has a number of other features that we could eventually talk about. We're going to focus on profiles, but at the top you can see that there are documents from any court nationwide directly from our system. I'm going to go ahead and click on strategic profiles. Yes? A great question. It's something I was going to cover at the end, but it is available to law schools on a transactional basis. What we're looking to do this year and into next year, we don't have a firm date yet though, is to identify a way that we can create a program to support the law school and education market. A number of schools throughout the country do have accounts and have IDs and have transactional access, but no set program in terms of flat rate subscriptions. And that's definitely keep you posted on that. What we ended up doing is we ended up clicking on strategic profiles. And remember our scenario. We're up against Intel, Brian Bodine, and we know But case law itself is not going to give us the full litigation history. Very helpful for the precedential value that we can glean. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to click on litigant. You're going to like this. This is very easy. Very easy to use. By default, it gives us back to 1104. So I'm going to search right now for Intel. All cases that were filed from 1104 until yesterday, naming Intel. We're going to go ahead and just leave that. We could go back 20 years if we wanted. Had subsidiaries we wanted to include, we can include them. Law firms, we have a client matter code, so they can. We're going to go ahead and hit Produce Profile. Before we run the search, identify whether the specific results that have been pulled back initially are the ones that you're interested in. Remember, we're very literal. We download the federal litigation activity every night. We don't guess what Intel you're interested in. For example, here we have an Intel officer. Not in this case, so we're going to go ahead and how easy it is to create a litigation profile. Now, as an attorney representing Microsoft, I'm very interested in that patent litigation. Nature of suit analysis is the same analysis that shows up on every single profile that you run when you run a litigation. 41, almost 42% of the litigation since the beginning of the year naming Intel has been around the patent litigation space. If we were very interested in that, we could simply click on patent, and now we've created a specific strategic profile around their patent litigation activity, which we can then hone in on what law firms had represented them in those matters, docket sheets, and product such as the plea. You can then leverage that information, obviously, to identify whether Intel has a pattern or propensity of being involved. What kind of trends you could glean from that to integrate into your own analysis as you move forward. Patent litigation, too, occurred in California. Those are ones that we're probably going to want to take a look at. Questions on the nature of suit analysis? This is how you sign on, by the way. Profile itself, the high value of looking at the overall trend. I'm not quite sure if I understand your question. Maybe if I the nature of suit analysis we covered. All of that federal litigation activity. also by district court. Here are the law firms that have actually represented. Very interesting for us, representing Microsoft, particularly as they relate. Then, at the very bottom here, we have the full listing of all those cases. Information behind the scenes that's powering that profile. Let's say we're interested in this particular one. Look, All Computers Incorporated versus really interested in that. Actually, let's take one where they were the plaintiff's counsel. Go ahead and click on View. What it does now, it takes us to the actual docket sheet, as well as the underlying pleading docket sheet. Patent infringement case. Bottom here, we have the filed as recent as yet, start to finish. Up the PDF version of that complaint. Actually send us that. Not search the information that's within the PDF. So I guess to your question, if we were interested in searching all of the reference to Intel, wherever it resided within a filed document, that's not capable. Something we're working on. Here you can see, this is really pretty awesome. Counsel can look and see what was alleged in that particular case. In all likelihood, this case not referenced in any kind of research. Follow-up question. Some of these have a little paper icon next to them. Courts are rapidly moving, you likely know this, moving to ECF technology, where they're involved in federal, the electronic filing. As they move to ECF technology, the information that's filed with those courts is by and large digitized. For example, the Northern District of California here is a court. To the extent that the court makes that information electronic, we make it electronic as well. Even when courts, though, move to an ECF platform, it doesn't necessarily mean that they digitize all of the documents. So if they don't, and that information is not available in digital format, we still make the capability available to simply click on this icon right here, and we have a document runner service that will go out and get that information for you. And you just fill out an order form, as you can see right here. Always available. Sometimes. Okay. Any questions on the litigant profile? Go ahead, and we're going to go to the top, and we're going to go back to our strategic profiles on the attorney in this case. Very, very important. We want to identify how often this particular great piece of information for us to share with Microsoft as we're moving forward in litigation. An attorney, law firm. In many cases, the opposing counsel leverages the same work product every single time. Well, what a great what they're going to produce. Go ahead and just type in have to put in the filed any cases and other. And we're researching now all federal litigation activity back to a couple other Bodines that apply. We're going to go ahead and click on Brian Bodine file. Now we're creating a litigation profile that we can use to force settlement and prepare for trial involving Brian Bodine. And we can see here that here is his litigation profile. 10 of those cases involved patent litigation. Move on down. All of them have taken place in Western District. Never been to the Central District of California. And charter territory, likely. Full listing of the client that he represented, the capacity that he represented that client, court, the case heading, and the nature of. Go on down a bit further, and we'll tell you capacity served. Here, roughly, you can see that let's his and we can go down here. We can actually look at the case, pull up his work product specific to patent, look at those complaints, look at those motions, that sort of thing. All of this information that we're pulling is exclusive content to CourtLink through the strategic profiles. It's the only place you can literally get back to 20 years of federal litigation activity, as current as yesterday, of all federal litigation activity. File on the judge, and here he is. Profile. In the past 7 involved patent litigation. Also take a look here and handled and reacted to motions and orders and judgments related to patent litigation. Firm in Atlanta that recently used a judicial profile to gear up for an antitrust case. And what the counsel told me was that they were trying to get a solid handle on the predisposition of the judge and also the comfort level of the judge, because that's how they prepared their motions. Were they going to take an approach of being very educational? What they ascertained from the strategic profile is that the judge had never, ever entertained. They knew that they could have a strategic advantage if they. Questions on So it's exactly. So CourtLink currently offers all federal civil cases back 20 years, and that covers the entire continent of the United States and Guam. Doesn't cover the Northern Mariana Islands or Alaska. And then we also have a collection of content on the criminal side at the federal level, as well as all bankruptcy courts. In addition, we have access to 18 state jurisdictions. So yes, we do download from the federal system, the PACER system, but we add a lot of functionality behind that to truly make it. So remember, this is our project. Much better armed now at this point forward with the litigation. Pressures that I'm likely feeling as I represent Microsoft. I need to be efficient and effective and build credibility for myself. The way that I'm going to do that is to show them that I have a full picture of all litigation activity likely going to impact the outcome. And this is just mind-boggling to me. Run this same research through just case law, in this particular case through Lexis.com. No hits on the judge. Cases in case law. I've already seen the results here. On the patent side, there are 135 total, but 7 specifically related. 5 where Brian Bodine was involved in patent litigation. And got 17 cases versus 2 that we can use for strategy. Now, the connection between Lexis.com and CourtLink is very, very important, obviously. Lexis.com is absolutely critical for identifying the precedential value. Hide that on CourtLink as well, but we're going to offer you additional information that you can leverage for strategy, and that's really where the connection comes in. Lexis tells you what to argue from a precedential standpoint. CourtLink tells you how to argue it based on the history and the dynamics of the players. Questions on CourtLink? Wide open. I can show you additional features. We led in the market when we launched the profiles by focusing on marketing departments because that's where all the interest was. All this pressure that we talked about earlier, well, they want to get smarter about how they represent their clients, and so as they're going out to pitch business and looking for new opportunities, they're running strategic profiles on their top revenue-producing clients. Let's say we represent Microsoft. Well, with one profile, you can see here, we can identify where we have opportunities to cross-sell the strength of our firm. Maybe we have a lot of patent litigation, but we don't trademark work. Well, why is that? The connection seems easy enough that we could leverage some of our relationships and build that business out. And then if you turn the page on the jurisdiction side of things, a great way this can be used is to say, hey, listen, we represent Microsoft. We've got multiple offices around the country, but we're not doing any business with Microsoft in, let's say, Washington State. Well, that would be a bad example, but let's say that would really be you'd really be in trouble. Let's say it's in Oklahoma, and we've got a lot of filings there. Well, if you've got an office there, why not try and ensure that the Oklahoma office starts to get some business based on that relationship? It's also a nice way to position it to Microsoft that you're a firm that has the capability of handling their litigation needs. Now, the one that's really, really interesting is the law firm analysis. In the law firm analysis, and this is really where you identify your client's share of litigation. So to your point, you may believe that you've got the bulk of that litigation business, but when you run this, you clearly see that there are a number of firms that are doing business. Also hone in and do a competitive, just a particular practice area, maybe just patent litigation, which is probably a more meaningful way of looking at this. But firms are getting very, very savvy about using this data to make themselves shine and to get smarter about the way that they do business with their clients. So it really goes full circle. They use it to find the business, and then as they're litigating on behalf of that client, ultimately it's a win-win for everyone. Yep. We're going to have profiles available. Hot off the presses. But we're rapidly moving into next year to build state content, and then we'll coordinate profiles with that state content. Great value, obviously, in just being able to pull a docket by docket number or run a case name. The problem is that if you use a system like Pacer, you just go directly. It's very cumbersome. We've all experienced that. Laundry list, you have to hope that the documents are there that have been filed, and you have to get a runner network. We provide one-stop functionality to get all that information, and the profiles kind of frame out the litigation. We have two pricing models. We have flat rates that are available for CourtLink, and it just depends on the size of the firm, and we work with firms to identify the right price point based on the needs of that firm. So smaller firms definitely use CourtLink. By and large, we're a transactional product, even in the law firm environment, and that's for small firms as well as large firms. To run a strategic profile is $150 for a litigant. It's $75 for all the other profiles, the attorney and the judge. Yeah, it does, and the reason why it does, we've downloaded all the litigation activity as far back as possible and as recent as of yet. The issue with Pacer is that we found that in many cases, by jurisdiction, it's hard to manage this. They have purged some of their court records information to make room for the new cases that have come in. So from a historic perspective, we've run searches comparable to Pacer, and actually another big advantage when you're using Pacer, CourtLink, even if you're just going in for a simple docket pull, is that we're always up. We're a database. We download that information rather than live connection to the court, which is a huge plus. We hear it repeatedly from librarians in the law firm market. Doesn't mean that Pacer is useless by any means. I think the relationship with Pacer, clients of theirs, but we take their data and we put it on steroids. Ask me any other questions. Last two profiles we have very relevant marketing purposes as well as research purposes in our nature of suit profile. Firms use these two profiles to identify litigation trends. In this particular case, you can see that also do is we can pick from any one of the 88 nature of suit. Say we're a law firm that's interested in expanding out our practice in ERISA and employment in Southern California, but we're not sure whether that litigation is increasing or decreasing over time. We obviously don't want to build out our office in that location. Similarly, if you were interested from a project perspective or research, go back back, and let's just go back to 2000. Go ahead and produce a profile. What we're going to run is employment as well as ERISA litigation. What we have here, first of all, is a section that breaks out combined litigation activity. On the increase when taking collective. As of yesterday, there were 375 filings in 2000. That tells us that it slowed down. I'll look specifically where that slowed down. You can see here that we had 186 last year. This is the one that's really dragging. 101 as of yesterday. So this kind of metric is very helpful as you're creating your strategy as a law firm, or you're looking for trends and making evaluations about what's happening in the marketplace. Western Washington, Oregon, and Central California, and see where the spikes and the dips were related. Well, I hope you found this useful. As you can see, there's a number of applications from litigation through client development for research purposes. We do see that there's, in many cases, a nice connection within the law school as well as the government market, and where we are meet your needs in that space. Again, it's available transactionally if you need to use the product. I mentioned, I think, at the outset that we have a number of schools throughout the country that actually have accounts with CourtLink. There are no flat rates available at this point or subscription, but they're coming. Any questions about CourtLink or Lexis in general? Everybody on our team. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for the great questions. They were what we hear regularly, but thank you very much. Thanks.
They're both in date.